نازور كينا I don't know if they put this. online live, but I don't know if people do see the stuff. What is your shop? Downstairs.
ولا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون فنفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام كونا من رب رحيم سلام كونا من رب رحيم سلام كونا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره نفسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون فذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند مضطرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين فضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العظيم.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وأصحابه وبارك وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My dear beloved Jama'at al-Muslimin, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First and foremost, we thank our Qari for the beautiful rendition of the glorious Quran. May Almighty Allah accept and may Allah bless us all through the barakah of the glorious Quran. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Today it gives me great pleasure indeed and honor to present to you our speaker, who is really no stranger to this community whatsoever. Fondly and affectionately and lovingly known as Brother Shafiq Morton, who we all know is a journalist, long-standing journalist, activist, and I've seen as I grew up as a young man Brother Shafiq going into all the hot spots and dangerous spots, even during the riot time squads, the riot squad times, and being involved with Muslim news and also Muslim news. Of course, Brother Shafiq is also an author, having recently authored the book on the life of the very esteemed scholar Sheikh Abu Bakr Effendi, and Brother Shafiq is here to speak to us today on the topic, the crescent of the Cape, the story of Sheikh Abu Bakr Effendi. Without further ado, I call upon our honorable brother Shafiq Morton to kindly address us.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil mursaleen Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Our beloved Sheikh Imam, members of the committee, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm going to briefly talk about the life and times of one of our greatest community figures, Sheikh Abu Bakr Effendi al-Qurayshi al-Amjadi, just to give some of his honorable titles. But let me give you some context as to who exactly Sheikh Abu Bakr Effendi was and why somebody from Turkey would come to the Cape during the 19th century. There are three main historical figures in Cape Town representing 3 centuries. The figures are Sheikh Yusuf of Makassar, who represents the 17th century. He came here in 1694. Tuan Guru, or Imam Abdullah ibn Qadi Abdul Salam, he came here in 1780. He represents the 18th century. Sheikh Abu Bakr Effendi came here in 1863, and he represents the 19th century. Each of these 3 personalities played a distinct role in making sure that Islam would survive at the Cape. Remember, Islam came here more by default than design. Why? Because our forefathers came here as slaves. They came from Sri Lanka, they came from Africa, all different parts of Africa, the Swahili coast, Mozambique, Zanzibar, West Africa. The Arangkayen, the nobility of Indonesia, who were Sheikh Yusuf and Tuan Guru, were the educated ones. And he goes to Robben Island in 1780. He writes the Quran from memory. He comes to the mainland in 1781. He writes his Marifa, which is a book of Shafi fiqh, and also contains a lot of awrad or dhikrs to comfort the slaves. 1786, he goes back to Robben Island for a second time, comes back to the mainland in 1791, and then he establishes the first madrasa. Because he realized he couldn't be a political activist because his head would have rolled the next day. So he realized that the prophetic way was going to be the way for him, for the way for the Muslim at the Cape, that education was the way. So he establishes this madrasa. At the same time, he creates a social hierarchy. What does he do? He appoints himself as a Qadi. Now, Tuan Guru was qualified to be a religious judge. So he's a Qadi, he's the chief Imam. He appointed Imams, Khatibs, assistant Imams, the Bilals or the Muadhins, and also people that in the Burkak they call a Malkut, the person who would announce when somebody had died. That was the infrastructure that Tuan Guru created. That was the only leadership the community had. Remember, slaves don't even have an identity. So the mosque and the community became the rallying point. And many, many people, many of the slaves embraced Islam because Islam is what gave them an identity as a human being. Remember, at the Cape, if you were brought here as a slave, you would lose your name. Let's say you were called Muhammad Qasim. Your name would become Jan van September, because September was the month that you were captured and Jan was your boss, slave master. In 1807, Tuan Guru is on his deathbed, and he sends a letter back to Dodori, the Molucca Islands in Indonesia where he came from. And in the letter, he calls for his two sons to come to the Cape, Shan and Abul Qasim. Why did he do this? He did this because he had a feeling, a premonition, that things were not going to go well at the Cape in the community because of the shortage of qualified ulama, of qualified scholars, and the shortage of knowledge. He could only do so much. In 1808, the Muslim community at the Cape changes. What happens is that the British start capturing slave ships from the Portuguese and the Spanish and bringing the slave ships to Cape Town, and these slaves became known as prize slaves. Prize because they belonged to the King of England. But because slavery was being abolished, the British decided to call them indentured laborers, and they had to work for 7 years for their freedom. So slavery by any other name. These prize slaves all came from Africa. They all came from Africa. And of these 5,000 slaves, a significant amount of them were already Muslim or they became Muslim. So what happens is, after the death of Tuan Guru, our community changes in appearance, let's put it that way. Demographics change. Today, the DNA of the Muslim community is about 50% African. I've proved it, I've done the research, it's there for everybody to see. So, Tuan Guru is the last of the great chefs to pass on. In 1795, the Dutch lose the Cape and the British arrive. So from 1807 to 1863, when Shababaka arrives, no new knowledge, no new islands, no new shuyukh. The community is completely isolated from the Muslim world, and things have started to go badly wrong. Let me give you some examples of the problems that the community was facing in about the 1850s and 1860s. To be an imam in those days was the ultimate position. That was the highest leadership position you could have in the community. So what happened? It became a political and economic position. So you had people being appointed to positions of leadership who weren't qualified. And the few that had the knowledge found themselves being marginalized. Imams were powerful in those days. Let me give you some of the examples of what was happening to the Cape Muslim community during that era. For example, they used to have special spitting bowls in Ramadan because they felt that if you swallowed your saliva, you would break your fast. Now the fiqhi understanding of this is, if you swallow saliva on purpose to try and reduce your hunger, that is what nullifies your fast, because all of us are producing saliva all day long. So that is a misunderstanding of the basic fiqh. They would say if you cut your beard, you'd become an unbeliever. SubhanAllah. Okay, the Shafi madhab will say to cut your beard is makruh, but not haram. Misunderstanding. What the imams also used to do, they used to tell the people, your fitrah for Ramadan had to be paid to them. If you didn't pay your imam the fitrah, your fasting was batil, wasn't accepted. Aina. Gets worse. Qurbani, imams used to say, if you don't give your qurbani meat to them, the qurban is not accepted. And the archives talk of the imams putting the meat into barrels and pickling it and selling it to the butchers. So you can see that things were not going right. Then the issue of succession. Because being an imam was so powerful, they would make sure that their sons or family members would take charge of the mosque. And this again created problems because knowledgeable people were not getting into positions of leadership. In 1860, Ahmad David reports that there were 20 cases in the Cape High Court concerning imams. That was the problem. Let me give you a postscript. I'm not saying anybody was bad. Our community is an amazing community because through all those years, they didn't lose their iman. They knew they were Muslims. They were proud that they were Muslims. But unfortunately, when knowledge starts to drift away, things don't go well. In 1862, a group of community elders and some of the responsible imams sent a letter to Queen Victoria asking her to approach the Khalifa, Abdulaziz, to send a scholar to the Cape because they needed somebody to solve their arguments, and they needed somebody to teach them their Islam. And I think we need to make special dua for these people who have the insight to invite Sheikh Abu Bakr Effendi to come to the Cape. Very briefly, who was Sheikh Abu Bakr Effendi? I've said he was a Sayyid, all right? Direct descendant of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But it goes deeper than that. He was born in a place called Hashnau in modern-day Kurdistan on the border of Iran, northeast Iraq. His family, when he was born, already had a tradition of 1,000 years of being scholars. 1,000 years of tradition of teaching the deen. His family moved from Makkah and Medina historically to Baghdad, and during the Abbasid era, 8th, 9th centuries, they fled the city because of persecution and went to Hashnau, where they created one of the biggest waqfs in Iraq. And that was where he was born in 1814. He studied for 16 years at the feet of his father. He went to Makkah. He went to Baghdad. He studied at the school of Sayyid Abul Qadir Jilani, radiallahu anhu. He spent time in Medina and he spent time in Istanbul. During his studies, he became a master of the 4 madhahib. He was called a Sheikh Islam, so he could give hukum in any madhab, whether it was Shafi, Hanafi, Hanbali, Maliki. So he was a highly qualified scholar. He studied many subjects. He studied economics, calligraphy, siyasa, politics, literature, languages, in addition to the normal hadith, seerah, fiqh, and sharia. He was also a hafiz. And it's said by Professor Yusuf da Costa, he believes that Sheikh Abu Bakr might have been a master of the 7 modes of qira'ah, 7 methodologies of reading the Quran. He comes to the Cape. He's initially welcomed. and I'm going to have to speed things up quite a bit. Initially, everybody's excited he's here. But then, when he starts to embrace the haqq, and the imams start to realize that this guy really knows what he's talking about, they begin to feel threatened. He was so effective when he arrived. In 3 weeks, he opened a school, the Ottoman Theological School. It had 300 students in 3 weeks, which in those days, 300 students is equivalent of enrolling 3,000 in 3 weeks. That's the equivalent. Unfortunately, because he was an ambassador of the Khalifa, he had to teach the Hanafi madhab at the Cape, which is Shafi. He himself was a Shafi, but he had to honor the Khalifa, and he was also employed by the Ottoman educational system. But the thing is, most of the imams didn't know the difference between Shafi and Hanafi in any case. And what happened was some of the imams decided to boycott him. Can you imagine that? And they said, it is haram to pray behind a Hanafi imam. Can you believe that? Abu Bakr was a man of great patience. He endured all of this. And he actually told the governor at the Cape at one stage, I spend my time in my house and I teach. I'm not even a member of the mosque, and nor do I interfere or tell any of the imams what to do. He was accused, for example, of saying that crayfish is haram. We know that the Hanafi madhab has got interpretations about crayfish. I haven't got time to go into all of this. He never said that. It was used against him to manufacture opposition by a small group of jealous imams to try and marginalize him and to push him out of center stage. Just an example. His students were accosted and assaulted in the street, and he had to complain to the governor for protection for his students. It was very tough. But at the end of the day, through sabr, through perseverance, Abu Bakr Effendi succeeded in doing some amazing things. And I'm going to quickly list his contribution to our Islam. First of all, he writes a book called the Bayan in Arabic Afrikaans. This man comes from Turkey. He says, I must learn Afrikaans because that's what the language that the people talk, or Afrikaans. And he writes this book in Arabic Afrikaans. Very quickly, why did he write the book in Arabic? Why were people reading Afrikaans in Arabic? The answer is very simple. There were no secular schools for the Muslim community at that stage. The only place where you could learn was a madrasa, and so people learned to write Arabic. And you will notice in the archives when our forefathers would sign letters, it was either with an X or they would sign in Arabic letters, never English letters. Very interesting. The Bayan is regarded as one of the pioneering works in Afrikaans. Forget about Arabic Afrikaans, because Afrikaans, as I call it, originates from our community in the Boerkaap. And Sheikh Abu Bakr Effendi was one of the pioneers of getting it as a written language in Arabic. He was a Hafiz. He revived the Hifz tradition at the Cape. He also was a master of law, as we said. He wrote a book in 1864 about Muslim marriages and inheritance. And he asked the governor, can I please be a Qadi? Can you please apply these laws? Because our marriages were regarded as illegal, our children were regarded as illegitimate. Abu Bakr Effendi foresaw the need for Muslim personal law 142 years ago, way before his time. He tried to create a waqf in terms of his school. He didn't succeed because the city of Cape Town in those days also had very high rates and taxes, and he complains about the rates and taxes preventing him from creating a waqf. His significant contribution was also with women. He had two wives at the Cape. The first one, Ruqayya Maker, who disappears off the scene, became a principal of her own school, teaching women. His second wife, Tahira Saban Cook, also became a principal of a school teaching Muslim women as well. In the 19th century, this was revolutionary, and he was the pioneer of recognizing women in our community. He also taught his students how to think, because the Hanafi approach to fiqh, and I can't go into the details, is to use reasoning. I'll leave it at that. He also created a new identity. When he arrived, the men would wear the straw hats, we used to call it a toren or something like that, the red scarf, moleskin trousers, and a long jacket. The men moved to wearing a Turkish fez, I'm nearly finished, a Turkish fez and a suit. But they didn't wear the suit and the Turkish fez to look like the English. No. They dressed like that because the Khalifa dressed like that. Our community saw the Khalifa in Istanbul as their leader, not Queen Victoria, nor did they see the colonialists as being their leaders. The colonialists had done nothing for them, gave them nothing. Finally, Sheikh Abu Bakr Effendi even made a contribution to the Hajj. He goes on Hajj and he gets attacked by Matofs, the guides, offering him this and that. He says, whoa, who are you people? I'm going to test you. So he takes him to a friend of his, Sheikh Khalil Pasha Effendi. They test these Matofs, they fail the test, and he introduces the Alawi family to being guides to Cape Muslims. Sayyid Abdullah, Sayyid Abdul Rahman, and Sayyid Safi Al-Alawi. Those of us who've got grey hair can remember staying at the Beit of Sayyid Safi in Makkah, which used to be right opposite the Haram. This family became the Matofs of the Cape for several hundred years, or 200 years, after Abu Bakr did his Hajj in 1876. I've gone way over my time. I don't want to abuse the hospitality of this mosque. There's so many more things I can tell you about the life and times of this person who should be very special to us. History has been very unkind to him. And in the book, and this is not a commercial, we've tried to do as much as we can to rectify the fitna that was thrown in his face when he very sincerely tried to teach us our deen. So to go back to square one, our three important historical figures, the axis of prophecy or prophethood, all three Sayyids, Yusuf of Makassar, who reinforced faith, Tuan Guru, who was an urban activist, you could say, Madrasa, the first mosque, and Sheikh Abu Bakr Effendi, who renewed our spirit, our faith, and gave us pride in being a Muslim. Shukran for your patience. Wallahu alam, peace away.
Takbir. Allahu Akbar walillahi alhamd. Shukran, Jazakallah khair. And by terima kasih to Brother Shafiq Morton for a very powerful message reminding us of our roots, especially as a Western Cape South African community, starting from Tuan Yusuf Rahmatullah alayhi, going to Tuan Guru Rahmatullah alayhi, and on to Sheikh Imam Abu Bakr Effendi Rahmatullah alayhi. These were our pioneers, and they went through very dark phases in the history of the development of us as a community here in this beautiful country of South Africa. And despite all the ups and downs and the differences, alhamdulillah, they stuck to the deen, they adhered to their love for the deen, and alhamdulillah, they produced this dynamic ummah, especially in the Western Cape, moving to broader regions throughout South Africa. May Allah bless them, And may Allah grant all our forefathers Jannatul Firdaus for being very staunch, sincere and pious people. And Jazakallah, Brother Shafiq, for putting things into perspective. And of course, Brother Shafiq authored the book on the life of Sheikh Abu Bakr Effendi, which is also available at our bookshop, at Savans and various places in the waterfront and Canal Walk. And I will really urge you to get that book, to get in touch with our history and our roots as a Western Cape South African Muslim community. Shukran, may Allah preserve you, and Jazakallah for gracing us with your presence today. Just a few announcements. I have a letter here from the Anwarul Islam Institute in Rondebosch, 2nd Avenue. They will be having an open day on the 29th of October to give more in-depth information about the 6-year island course. Also for people, matriculants who want to take a gap year, they can find out more information at the Anwarul Islam Institute, inshallah. And the Qira'atul Quran Institute in number 6 Hout Street in Vanguard Estate, they will be having a bride day in aid of funds to purchase madrasa property, and that will be Saturday the 29th of October, next Saturday inshallah, and they ask the community to kindly support them. And then of course we say Umrah Maqbool to Siraj Gabriels and all their families, and all our people who are back from Umrah. May Allah grant you Umrah Maqboola, accept your du'as inshallah, and may Allah grant all of us the honor to undertake this journey. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. And then this coming Tuesday, inshallah, we will be having the Tuesday morning housewife forum. We will have our pink hijab day from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. with the Voice of the Cape live here, as well as the Islamic Medical Association. We'll do free cancer breast screenings, as well as screenings of other cancers, and do some explanations. Absolutely free. We will also have Raigate here, who will do the necessary security, as well as help us from the ladies of our Al-Quds College. And I urge you to please inform your women folk that the program on Tuesday is open. All ladies are welcome for the necessary screening, which will be done by professional doctors, and also in private and confidentiality by the Islamic Medical Association, the Voice of the Cape in attendance, as well as Raigate, inshallah. And then we have been asked to make dua, shifa for Abida Abdullah Farouk, the wife of Brother Farouk Bhai, and also dua shifa for Shahida Hussein Mahati, the wife of Rashid Mahati, and for all sick people at home and in hospital. May Allah grant them shifa. Amin. And last but not least, Wednesday the 19th of October was already 4 years gone past with the passing on of our beloved Imam Sheikh Muhammad Fuad Isaacs, Allah yarhamu. Still very much missed, still very much loved. We ask Allah to flood his qabr with nur, and Allah grant him Jannatul Firdaus. Amin. Ya Rabbal Alameen. I'm sorry for getting emotional. Sometimes I just think of him and tears run down my eyes. I still miss him so terribly. Really, I miss him terribly, because we were like perfect partners, co-imams here at Masjid al-Quds. May Allah grant him Jannah, and soon, inshallah, when Allah take us away from this world, may Allah reunite us all in Jannatul Firdaus. Ameen. Ya Rabbal Alameen. Shukran, Jazakallah khair. Once again, Brother Shafiq, as we always say here at Masjid al-Quds, Baya terima kasih for being here today and sharing your depth of knowledge with us. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Of course, the Arabic khutbah will be done by Hafiz Ali Pankakar, and the Salah will be led by Hafiz Meyer Didericks, inshallah. But before the Adhan, may I humbly request you to kindly stand up, because I see a lot of gaps in between. Kindly stand up, step forward for all the cells in front of you, and wherever you see a space in front of you, that space is rightfully yours. Can I ask everyone, Kanala, for your cooperation, please? It also gives a chance for the blood, the flow, circulation, blood circulation. Kindly stand up, those are still sitting. Just stand up, you'll see feel the difference. Step forward, where you see the gap in front of you, take that gap. Then the moment the Imam gets off the mimbar, we can start the Salah Sunnah, inshallah. Shukran, Jazakallah khair, and Terima kasih.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وأذل الشرك والمشركين واغفر لنا بالخير برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه أبدا وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا ما لهم به من علم ولا لآبائهم كبرت كلمة تخرج من أفواههم إن يقولون إلا كذبا. الحمد لله الذي يسبح له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له شهادة تنجي قائلها من عذاب أليم. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله حبيب الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد فيا عباد الله اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم ولوالدي ولوالديكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.
اللهم صل وسلم وزد وانعم ولقد وبارك بجلالك وكمالك على زين عبادك واشرف عبادك سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى ال سيدنا محمد وصحبه وسلم ورضي الله تبارك وتعالى عن كل صحابته اجمعين.
الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا كما أمر والصلاة والسلام على سيد البشر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين. وقال تعالى إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. وارض اللهم عن الخلفاء الراشدين ساداتنا أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي رضي الله تعالى عنهم أجمعين، وعن بقية الصحابة والقرابة والتابعين وتابع التابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وأذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداءك أعداء الدين. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. ربنا عليك توكلنا وإليك نبنا وإليك المصير. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. وأقم الصلاة. Can we focus off?
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي الصلاة حي الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. تبارك الذي جعل في السماء بروجا وجعل فيها سراجا وقمرا منيرا وهو الذي جعل الليل والنهار خلفة لمن أراد أن يذكر أو أراد شكورا. وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما. والذين يبيتون لربهم سجدا وقياما والذين يقولون ربنا اصرف عنا عذاب جهنم إن عذابها كان غراما إنها ساءت مستقرا ومقاما. والذين إذا أنفقوا لم يسرفوا ولم يقتروا وكان بين ذلك قواما. والذين لا يدعون مع الله إلها آخر ولا يقتلون النفس التي حرم الله إلا بالحق ولا يزنون ومن يفعل ذلك يلقى أثاما. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق والأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تبارك ربنا وتعاليت يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا واغفر لنا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم أنت الشافي لا شفاء إلا شفاء وشفاء لا يغادر سقما. اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا وارحمنا بالقرآن العظيم. اللهم اجعله لنا إماما ونورا وهدى ورحمة. اللهم ذكرنا منه ما نسينا وعلمنا منه ما جهلنا وارزقنا تلاوته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار واجعله لنا حجة يا مولانا يا رب العالمين.
parent to kindly tend to your child, please. Your child needs you. Give your child the attention, please.
Oh, take a photo of the class, yes. And send to your sister.
Huh?
Send the photo to your sister.
Oh.
Send it to you.
Okay.
Send it to your sister.
Yeah. Stuff is big. I didn't even use it, this one.
Hey?
I didn't even use this one. I thought I can put it like this standing because you can make it so long like this.
Oh.
Then I can, oh yeah. Because I don't want to
That's
see people.
fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Oh. وضوء. بليز تيديروا كي كيتوضاو. اولا جاش ولكن سخانه خانه وضوء وتبدا وتنيم وتقولي ده ودنيم خو ودخانه وتقول سخانه صدقني.
نعم. Look at the ladies. Inshallah.
And you're going to because it's going to be so comfortable. You're going to love it. Okay.
Yes. Now that's the name of it. And what's this? Oh, this is salt.
Assalamualaikum. You have to sign some Abu Bakr Effendi books. Assalamualaikum. Get your copy of Shafiq Morton's book here at the Masjid al-Quds section.
Which book?
The one that spoke now.
Oh.
This is one of his books. This one. Oh yeah, this one.
Oh.
He was talking about Tuan Guru, and then he was also talking about Sheikh Abu Bakr Effendi now. These are his books.
Shafiq is going to be signing it. Get your copy of the Sheikh Abu Bakr Effendi book at Masjid al-Quds gift shop, only over here. 300 there. You can buy more if you want to. We subsidize it for you. Bismillah. What's about the Tuan Guru book? Is it? Here we go. That's a Tuan Guru book.
Can I take yours, Sheikh? Must I ask? No, I'm just.
Get your copy of the Abu Bakr Effendi book. Thank you, 300. Uncle Shafiq is signing it here. We got the one guru book as well, praying for 170. Also, if you can sign the phone guru also.
Do you mind, Sheikh, if I take picture of you?
No, of course.
Okay.
Let's go stand up to it. Salam, are you alright?
Assalamu alaikum, how are you? Nice to see you.
Wow.
شكرا.
Want a magazine? Come, English.
No? I know, but I don't. I'm gonna just wish just take it. I don't read. Leave for someone.
Still recording.
That's 5 minutes. Let me just check. Are you going straight to home? Can you ask favor if you can? I just need to go pop by the bank, see if that stuff working, if it be by Gazeful. Are you rushing now? Are you in a hurry?
It's full.
That if it be by Gazeful. Astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. I hope that I hope I do it. I hope I do it right. I don't know. Just gonna leave this one here. There we go. But just 5 minutes, then again. When we get there, I'm gonna stop it. Very hot today. But it was windy this morning.
Very windy.
You,
Even
Habi
last
said,
night.
Habi said, don't cycle. I said, but yesterday it was windy also. I cycled, but nothing. Say, no. It's today is very windy.
Very windy. Last night already the wind picked up. From last night already it was blowing so strong.
I thought you're gonna walk this morning because Auntie Shireen yesterday she said, okay, she's gonna bring me that foam.
But she forgot.
Oh,
Thank you.
I thought you discussed with her and you maybe changed. I know usually you don't walk Friday. When I ask her, he say, but you know, Wasila, she don't go walk for Friday. I say, yeah, but I hear Auntie Shireen, she said she gonna bring me the foam, so maybe they discuss between them. They're gonna walk today. Oh.
No, maybe she walked.
Huh?
Maybe she walked today.
Oh, okay. Because I said to her, I still say, okay, see you tomorrow.
No, she walks alone. She doesn't wait for anybody.
Oh, okay, but she's secure because it's close to the house. I mean,
And she knows the people.
yeah. I see this morning when I was in a lunch by the windows, Auntie
I know, but
Nazli
I
and
think she did when we greeted each other. Oh no, but she just said then we'll see you on Monday. But I mean, she walks on her own. Where's F&B? Inside the mall or behind?
no, not. I think which Bushra stay, that place which is outside the mall, not inside the mall, outside.
Because then we can go into the back here.
Even this is not my branch that I opened my account. But they
doesn't
help.
matter. No,
Yeah,
you
that's
can
as
go
Habi
anywhere.
says so. Yeah, I hope they're gonna help me for this. I got my card and everything.
What's up?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they're
What?
going there.
Oh.
No, you can go into any assembly.
Look, I put I thought my family gonna see they're gonna see the life, not, I mean, later on, because I see only 1 person, 2 person, it's only that it was alive. And she say, yeah, you must put.
What? What you say?
Then she said, I must put any. I explained to her. Oh, which is the. اوكي، اللي ما شافش اللايف راني درتو في الخطبه ديال الجمعه في مسجد القدس في كيب تاون. ايوا ما اش غنقول لكم، ما دخلش واقيلا شي حد ما نعرف، خاصني نشوف شكون اللي دخل، واللي ما شافش اللايف يعاود يشوفه من بعد. هذا مكان، والسلام عليكم ورحمه الله تعالى وبركاته، الى لايف اخر ان شاء الله. سلام.
I thought you were speaking to me.
Yeah,